So we have a facilitator in the room. Like I said, he's my Oga at the top. His name is Abdullahi Ibrahim. He works at Leap Africa. I'm just going to read out his bio to us and then have him come up to take his session. So Abdullahi is a seasoned development expert. He brings a wealth of knowledge in crafting, executing, and evaluating strategies aimed at facilitating youth transition initiatives. Additionally, he is adept at conducting research and spearheading advocacy campaigns to forge strategic alliances that foster access to decent work and improved livelihood for young people across various regions in Africa. Wow. As a monitoring and evaluation expert, Abdullahi champions youth empowerment and advancement of human capital. He commenced his career in education for sustainable development, spending 3 impactful years as an educator across primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. Subsequently, he seamlessly transitioned into the realm of evaluation and research to advance the quality of learning and thoughts around international development across the global south. In the past half decade, Abdullahi has honed his expertise in portfolio monitoring and evaluation for large-scale development projects. He has provided pivotal support to notable projects such as the MasterCard Foundation, Young Africans Work Strategy, Male Fellowship Program at Jobama, Nigeria, the UNDP, NJFP projects, and a lot of other projects. Motivated by his determination and dedication to fostering decent work opportunities for young people, Abdullahi has a bias to lean towards participatory portfolio evaluation, leaning on DCED and OECD standards. He's going to tell you more about that. His overarching objective is to ensure that youth development ecosystems, are relevant, and the approaches towards it are relevant towards designing and implementing male strategies. That's a lot of profile right there. And at this point, with a virtual applause, please make welcome Abdullahi Ibrahim, the senior male officer at Leap Africa. I can't see your virtual applause, or else it's not coming up.
Thank you so much, Victoria. That bio is long.
It's long. Thank you.
I felt like you were reading my CV. But anyways, thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon, everyone. I see quite a number of people joining us from all around the world. Thank you, Enoch. Hi, Means. Hello, Momo. Happy to have Abisoye here as well. Thank you so much, everyone. And so I see we don't really have much time, so I'll dive right into it. So kindly forgive me for not taking some time to give us some room to breathe. So firstly, as I always do, I try to lean on what you already know. So the first thing I'll try to do now is, let me see, if you have participated in designing a theory of change or a logical framework before, kindly just put 1 on the chat box, just 1. And if you haven't, let me see 2. If you have participated in designing a logical framework or a theory of change before, let me see 1. If you haven't, put 2. Okay, I see 2. Okay, 2. All right, great. A lot of 2s. So we'll stick to 2s, and thank you so much for responding. So because of that, I'm going to start with the essentials of impact measurement. And that really is you starting right out from what a logical framework or theory of change is. But forget all that English, and let me just present my board. Yeah, connection restored. Chrome tab, Miro, yeah. All right. If you can see my board, yes, you can see my board because I can see it too. So let's start. Does anyone want to maybe take 1 minute to tell me about any project that they're excited about? Anyone? You can just indicate on the chat box. You can even write on the chat box just the objective of your project, any project that you've worked on, or your YDOS project specifically. Just the objective in one sentence, so that we can use it as an example. Okay, I'm yet to see a plastic cleanup to recover. Let me just do this. A plastic cleanup to recover recyclables. Okay, so I'll take it as you're trying to have a project that does a cleanup so that you can recycle what you have cleaned up. And that's essentially plastic, correct? Yes, recyclables. Thank you, Enoch. So let me just try to work with that. So let me see. So this is just a whiteboard, nothing elaborate. Let me use a sticky note. So firstly, let me see, project goal. Let's say, let's make it SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic, and time-bound. Time-bound. Clean up all plastic in, let me see, in Blantyre, Malawi, and recycle them by, let's say, December 2024. All right, so let's assume this is our goal. So please just remember that your goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, and realistic, and should have a time to it. So this is our goal, but let me just make it bigger. So when you have this goal, right, ideally, if you have an intention to measure or track your progress in whatever project you're trying to work on, you should have a theory of change. And that theory of change is just as the word goes. Let me write it down. Theory of change. Theory of change. So your theory of change simply tells you that if, so for example, for this particular project, you could say that your theory of change, the theory by which you seek for change to happen, or by which you are confident that change will happen, is that if the cleanup happens, our theory of change now, our theory of change statement, let's say, so this is the theory of change statement. There's a statement, so it's two things. There's a theory of change statement and a full theory of change itself, but we'll go into that. So a theory of change statement for this project could be that if all plastic in are cleaned up, we can then it is possible to recycle them. So this is your theory of change. And ideally, your theory of change should come before, your theory of change statement should come before you even go to having a project goal. So your theory of change should guide you to have a project goal, because your project should be guided by a theory, because you don't want to embark on something that would not lead to what you want. And ideally, it is advised that your theory of change has an if and then statement. So you see, if all plastic are cleaned up, then it is possible to recycle them, right? So this is actually very basic anyways. So let me see on the chat box, let's see example for your project. So I see tree planting to reduce impact of climate change. So Sasa, you can now, I see from Momo, I see from Frank. So you can put on the chat box what you think your theory of change could be, your theory of change statement could be. So if tree planting, if trees are planted, or let's say if trees are planted in so and so location, then we will have, but impact on climate change. Climate change is too broad for your project, maybe. So you need to specify. So maybe let's say tree planting to reduce carbon intake by maybe living organisms. So if trees are planted, humans will have better oxygen to breathe, for example. Maybe you can think of the theory of change that way. If young people are educated on STEM, if women and girls are educated on STEM, they would have better skills to advance in their career or something like that. Yeah. So just things like that. So that's a theory of change statement. But now we can move to a theory of change itself. Remember, this is only a theory of change statement, and now we are moving to a theory of change. I have just about, I will even say I don't have just 1 hour for this session. So kindly permit me to go through, to breeze through. But what I'll really say is that we should take so much effort in following up on our learning resources. There are some learning resources for you that you should use. And I'm very confident that the YDOS team will be kind to share that with you. So kindly confirm that you can see a screen that has a table that says outcomes, outcomes, outcomes. Yes, all right. So that is just a theory of change statement. Now let me even copy it. Let me copy the theory of change, copy, and paste it right here. So this is the project goal, and then this is the theory of change. Copy and paste. So I didn't want to just create something and just bring it to you and say this is what it is. So I just wanted to show you how the thought process works. So yes, this is your project goal: clean up plastic in blah 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 by 2024. So it means for you to clean up plastic, you need certain. So you walk all the way up, right? Just for clarification, let me put an arrow. Yes, so you go upwards. Right? So that's what this particular design says. You're going up from input to activities because you have certain things that you need for your project, and then you have certain activities that you do, and then those activities would lead to certain things, certain outputs, and then those outputs will lead to outcome, and with your outcome, you can take your way to your goal. Which is going to basically be in past tense. So all plastics have been cleaned up and recycled by December 2024, for example. All right, so your input could be, let me see, people to aid you in cleanup funds, to help you buy cleanup resources, recycle bags. You might also want to have maybe a stereo to put on your car, stereo and car for music as people are doing it, for example. And then the activities could be, you could spread them out all this way anyways. Yeah, anyone you want. So the activities will be the cleanup itself, cleanup in so and so, in let's say Lilongwe, Malawi. Another activity could be that you sensitize people to, you even do a sensitization before the cleanup so that people will for show up. And then what maybe, let's say recycling activities. Then the output will be that, oh, cleaned up. So let's say the three provinces have been cleaned up. And let's say sensitization has been conducted. Please, if you see any typo, just kindly forgive it. Sensitization done. This is just a basic framework because I see almost everyone puts two that they don't have a background in this. And then recycle 3 tons of waste from the provinces. Then the outcome is that 3 provinces cleaned now means that maybe, let's see, an outcome of cleaning could be that everywhere is now sanitized. People are now aware and knowledgeable about the harmful effects of so and so and can even do the cleanup even if you are not there. Aware and knowledgeable, and then they make efforts. People now make efforts themselves to recycle. So you see how your input led to your activities, to outputs and outcome. Typically, input is very clear. Anything that you require as a resource to put in activity is what you do. The cleanup, the sensitization, the recycling itself. Output is that you've done them. And then outcome is the effect of having done them. So because you cleaned up somewhere, the place becomes sanitized and clean and all. When you did the sensitization, people are now aware and knowledgeable of the harmful effects of all these plastics and the benefits of cleaning the environment and even maybe do it themselves. And then the recycling makes people aware of how you even recycle these things, and then they even do it themselves, and it leads you to your goal or impact. So you see, you've cleaned up all plastic in Blantyre. So it's possible that in your own activity, you only cleaned up for maybe, let's say, three parts of the provinces, but because you've done all this, it now makes people do more, and eventually all the cleanup happens for the whole of Blantyre. So sorry, this should have been Blantyre instead. Anyways, so that's really it. So we'll move right into our session for today. So that's just a background. Anyways, if you are following, let me just see a thumbs up. Your favorite emoji? Let me just see your emoji. Any emoji. So please let me also do a reminder. So I have an activity that we are going to do. This is already 119. So please, if you're using your phone and there's a means for you to switch to your laptop or get your notepad, please do that, because we're going to go into breakout rooms and actually come up with something to evaluate. All right, moving on. So down to the next slide. Let me just present my screen this time. So right from that table, you can see that there's a distinction between an output and an outcome. And the reason why there's so much value in putting a distinction to them is because you can easily mix them up. That's one reason you can mix them up. The second is that what your stakeholders, your funders, your administrators, even your constituents and your team would want to know to be able to track progress is that they want to know where you are based on your outcome. Tracking an output is a basic. It's expected and anyone can do it. Anyone should be able to do it. But for you to effectively track your outcome, then you need to have certain approaches in place. And that's what we are going to deep dive into. We're going to talk about how to track outcomes and the importance of tracking outcomes. And then we have the practical session. All right. So who can read out what is on this cartoon? Let me see hands. Can we get this slide? I will see to that. So who's going to read out what's on the cartoon? You can just put your hands up or indicate on the chat and we'll give you the mic. Is it? Let me see. Abdullah, can you do that? Or Lawson, Esther? All right, Abdullah, kindly go ahead. I think if he's trying to unmute, ask to unmute. Yes. So just kindly read out what is on the cartoon and tell us what you think about it in 1 minute.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know if others can, but I'm sure I can hear you. Yes, everyone can hear you. So please go ahead. We have little time. So just read out what's on the cartoon and just tell us what you think it means.
Okay. So what I can visualize here is they said, remember team, the number of times you say boo is just an output. Our design outcomes is strictly fair in the heart of living.
So what do you think they're trying to say there?
What I can see here is based on the cartoon, I think it's just like an animal trying
Yeah.
to make a sound, saying, identifying that it's kind of a cow or something like that. So the
Yeah. So
outcome
what I
by
mean is, yeah, sorry, let me just offer
okay.
another sketch. So what I'm trying to understand is, what do you think the person on the board is trying to communicate about output and outcomes? What not what they look like. What do you think they're trying to communicate?
It's trying to communicate like it's a cow that is making the sound. I mean, it's an
Mhm.
animal.
All
Yes.
right. Thank you so much, Abdullahi.
All right.
That's
Thank
a
you.
wonderful contribution. All right. I'll have asked others to also share their thoughts, but we're pressed for time, so we'll just push on since we have an activity. So if you take a look at the cartoon, it says that hash of times you said boo is an output. Number of times you said boo is an output. So what the person is trying to communicate is that the desired outcome, which is striking fear in the hearts of the living, that is the outcome. Saying boo to scare the person is just an output. And the fear that comes as a result of saying that boo is actually the outcome. So remember what we did here. Cleaning, the cleanup itself is not the outcome. Sensitization is not the outcome. Recycling is not having recycled 3 tons is not the outcome, right? Having the environment become more sanitized, having people become more aware and knowledgeable, and making people recycle on their own without you having to bring them up. Those are the outcomes. So an outcome is a result of the output. An outcome is a result of the output. It is not the output itself. But we'll go on to explain more around this. All right. So moving on, we are going to just take some time to reflect on why you should track outcomes. And first, there is that it provides evidence of impact to stakeholders, because you don't want to just go to someone and say that I have done cleanup, right? You don't want to go somewhere and say that, oh, we have done digital skills training. You don't want to go somewhere and say, oh, people have become more aware. No, what you want to do is you want to provide evidence first, and that evidence will tell your stakeholders what is happening. You don't have to tell them, right? So you tracking your outcomes through an evaluation or an outcome harvesting, maybe as you deploy interviews, you send out surveys or questionnaires or use checklists or records, and you analyze that data, you can now have evidence to actually say that really, 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 the activity has been done, the output is there, and then it speaks to an outcome. So, for example, if you move back to, let me go to the Miro whiteboard, switch to this tab. If you move to the theory of change, you will see that he said if all plastic are cleaned up, then it is possible to recycle them. Means that you can't possibly clean up something that is not even available. As you can't recycle something that you don't have. So that cleanup needs to happen. People recycling will not just go to the street and be picking up things and be recycling them. So it provides evidence that okay, cleanup has happened, and it is 3 tons based on the measurement you did. It is 3 tons, and that 3 tons has been given out for recycling, and the recycling itself has happened. So evidence tells people what is happening, not that you just come and state it. there's evidence to guide it, right? And as we move on, you see how you can gather evidence to say that things have happened. The output is there, and then it is leading to an outcome through evidence, right? Not just by going to write it because you have seen it, or because your project officer or your volunteer or you as a project lead has seen it for your own eyes. That's not the ideal way to have it work. So secondly, is to align, to see that you're aligning with project goals and making rapid adaptations where you are not aligning. So as you go on to measure what is happening, as you go on and you keep tracking what change is happening, it gives you an indication of, okay, are you going in the right direction or the wrong direction? If your goal was to have cleanup products reaching 3 tons and you have only 1 ton, is an indication that something is not going so well, and or an indication that you missed something or there's something that could be done differently, and then you have rapid adaptations happen. Again, another example is that if you were supposed to recycle plastic and then your data is telling you that you have actually gathered metal, and the recycled tools that you've gathered maybe 3 tons of metal or aluminum or something like that, and then the tool for recycle that you have and have made available with your project is not meant for metal. You need to now make a rapid adaptation, or let me just say adapt to whatever is happening. And then it helps you to identify success and areas for improvement. So, for example, taking into consideration your day of service, when I asked about projects that you are working on, I saw a couple of sensitization, awareness, and recycling. And one thing about those kind of projects is that it's very easy for people to perceive them as activity-based. But the reality is that they have a long-standing, in most cases, evidence has suggested that they have long-standing positive effects and positive consequence. However, for you to be able to communicate this, you need to be able to conduct an evaluation or at least harvest your outcomes. Let me give you an example. If I come to a community and I do a sensitization today, or I go and we go do a cleanup, and then in the next, and then I go and tell, and then I just leave them that way. How will you differentiate the effect of that with someone that did a sensitization or cleanup, and then after maybe 3 months, they now go back to see what has changed in the level of awareness, knowledge, in the level of agency or ownership that people have to even clean up or inform their neighbors about this harmful and toxic waste. Which one would be more effective, or which one would have more meaning to it? Which one would you be able to communicate? You be able to use to communicate that a change is actually truly happening? Let me see on the chat box. Going back to evaluate, Abdullah, thank you. I would like to see more responses and thoughts. Okay. Let's kindly keep participating, because when we come to those breakout activities, you would really need to present your discussion. So let's move on to save time. I'm not sure I understood the question. Sorry. Carry out an evaluation from SASA. Thank you. So the question was, compared to someone that just does the activity and report that they've done it, and someone that goes back after maybe a few months to report that, to assess what change has happened even after the activity, who will have more information or more detail to actually ascertain whether change has happened? And everyone is saying that going back to kind of check what the outcome is, because your activity alone will not tell you what the outcome is. You actually need to go back and get information, get data to actually, all right, that's fine, to actually make an informed statement that, okay, a change has happened. Yeah, moving on. So, just summarizing once again the key benefits of tracking your project outcomes. The first is it aids you to make effective decisions and having an informed decision-making system. So you don't make decisions based on what you've observed alone, or based on what your volunteer tells you, or based on what the project lead thinks. You make decisions using data. And that leads you to having an improved decision-making process. The second is it ensures accountability. It aids us to optimize resource allocation and increased stakeholder confidence. So it's easier for me to gain trust in your project if I see evidence that is telling me that a change is happening, as opposed to you just coming to tell me that change has happened, but there's no evidence. And one of the only ways you can get evidence in an effective way and a structured way that aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals is by conducting these kind of evaluations, which includes outcome evaluations or outcome harvesting, as you might want to apply. So moving on. So I'll just need us to take a look at this video. But before then, I would like that I'll just play it for 5 seconds to confirm that you can hear.
We all want to create positive change through our interventions. Outcome harvesting is a way of thinking about monitoring and evaluation, which helps you understand how you are achieving.
Yes, all right. So let me just take you to the beginning. I see that some of us are having a hard time following, so I'll just take it back. So let's get right into the mood of listening to this so that we'll internalize it as it's playing. So we'll start playing in 5 seconds. Just a short video about one of the methods to conduct evaluations, which is called outcome harvesting. All right.
We all want to create positive change through our interventions. Outcome harvesting is a way of thinking about monitoring and evaluation, which helps you understand how you are achieving actual social change. In outcome harvesting, the people who are contributing to change take part in the monitoring and evaluation process. This gives them an opportunity to reflect together on what they are actually achieving, which brings energy to the monitoring and evaluation work. Let's look at an example. Imagine your organization works on a project to increase access to justice for people in vulnerable circumstances by aiming to remove barriers they face. This is done through training of local judges, police officers, and community facilitators on human rights standards. You assess the program objectives and determine that local courts have indeed become more compliant. But is this the full picture? It will look different if you start by identifying the changes in behavior that you have contributed to, instead of only measuring against planned project goals. In outcome harvesting, you start by identifying outcomes and move backwards to determine how your intervention contributed. Outcome harvesting defines an outcome as a behavioral change in a social actor that you contributed to. The change that you are looking for is either in relationships, activities, policies, or practice. In outcome harvesting, your output and activities are seen as being within your sphere of control. With these activities, you influence change in social actors, which is your sphere of influence, to ultimately achieve a change on the level of the rights holders or beneficiaries, which is your sphere of concern. The focus of measurement in outcome harvesting is on the outcome level within your sphere of influence. Let's have another look at the example. Besides the courts becoming more compliant with human rights standards, traditional leaders and judges formed relationships supported by community facilitators who started coordinating consultations between them. Unexpectedly, the relationship between these actors shifted from one of hostility to one of constructive joint action. This was observable through a shared commitment to meet and consult with one another. Not all of these outcomes were planned results of your program. Understanding both
All right. I'm going to continue we're going to continue now, but I think that we've got the message from the video. So let me just see, let me hear thoughts about what some of us have taken from the session so far. We'll just take about maybe 5 minutes to do this, and then we advance so that I'm not going over and beyond in the wrong direction. So let me see who wants to maybe share within 15 seconds what they think or their reflections so far. 15 seconds and just 15 seconds, nothing to elaborate. You can also put it on the chat box. No, not it has been awesome. Just kindly tell us what you've anything you've taken from what we've done so far, so that we can use it to build on as we move, so that we'll move together. You can also use maybe a sentence, a phrase, a word. You can request to unmute your microphone. All right. I have Abdullahi first. All right. So Abdullahi, will you be kind to unmute your mic and let us know what your reflections are within 15 seconds. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. This is quite knowledgeable. From the video that you have just shared, what I realize is that for any social changes to be determined, there must be a kind of 3 factors to be to work on, which is control, influence, and consign. So these are the 3 factors that for any change, for you to determine a kind of social changes outcomes, so you have to put these 3 things in mind and work with or align with. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abdullahi. That is actually concise, and I like the way you summarized it. I see on the chat box as well, anyone can request to unmute. You can just raise your hand and then use your microphone to share. Okay, I see Elijah. Do you want to share? Musa, Enoch, Sasa. I see. That's interesting. I like how we've been able to connote the items and link them to each other, linking the objective to the project goals, linking the project goal to your impact, eventual impact, outcome harvesting being a precise way to measure and know the impact of your project. When tracking outcome, it is important to step back and have a bigger look of how your actions contributed. Exactly. I like that, Enoch. Exactly. Activities, planting trees, output, fruits, impact. Nice, Sasa, nice. All right, I guess we can advance, but I'd really love to see more reflections on the chat box, please. Thank you. All right, so moving on, I think we'll forge ahead. So I would like us to just read this for 1 minute, just study it for, let me say, 1 minute, 30 seconds. I would advise that you stick to, let's say 1 minute, advise that you stick to only purpose, forget everything else, right? The video that you just watched is about outcome harvesting, but there's also outcome evaluation. And the reason why this slide is here is for us to understand that there's a difference between the two. So I just want us to take 1 minute, basically 60 seconds, let me specify. Some people's 1 minute is like 90 seconds, to understand the difference in purpose between outcome evaluation and outcome harvesting. So we'll first read, and then I would call on one person to tell us what they think. Right. All right, I'm confident that my own 60 minutes has elapsed. So let me hear reflections, and I'll prefer someone that is not Abdullahi now. So let me see a show of hands. Who wants to go? Abdullahi, not you, not now, maybe later. Let's have a participatory class. Let me see. Hi, Musa or Denise. Do you want to share what your reflection is of the distinction between outcome harvesting and outcome evaluation? Why is this class silent? Is this the normal way? All right. Let me ask to unmute. All right, then. So not to take time. So the basic distinction between an outcome evaluation and an outcome harvesting is that an outcome evaluation tries to assess what your progress is. Assess what your progress is based on the intended goals or outcomes. However, an outcome harvesting casts a wide net and disregards your intended outcome or intended goal. So basically, your outcome harvesting, your outcome evaluation is asking specific questions that speak to your project goal, or your project objectives or your project outcomes. But your outcome harvesting is simply asking what change has happened. Why has it happened? By whom? You understand? Generic questions that will tell us what change has happened, and then you will now attribute them to the intended goals or outcomes. And then after you've seen which one are attributable to your intended goals and whatever you've done on your project, you now see what are the unintended outcomes. So your outcome harvesting it's easier for an outcome harvesting to tell you unintended outcomes. Unintended outcomes. For example, besides people being aware, besides people recycling for themselves, what else is happening? What change has occurred as a result of desensitization, the cleanup that you did, etc. So your outcome harvesting tells you more, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, whether it is intended or unintended. It tells you more about what your intervention has done. However, all of them are done after you have conducted you have finished your intervention, or after a sequence of activities and outputs have already been realized. So that is the major distinction. That's the major distinction. One is tied towards the intended goals. Another is not tied towards the intended goals. It's just the wide net that is cast. So moving on, because I see we have just 30 minutes. So here's what's going to happen. Even though 20 minutes of my time was taken. But let's do it this way. So let's take this activity. We'll take the activity and then we'll come back to discuss. So we'll now go into breakout rooms. All right, let's go into breakout rooms. But before going into breakout rooms, let me share. Someone is lost. Caitlin is lost. All right. So what's going to happen is I'm going to follow you all into your breakout rooms, and kind of provide guidance and just answer any questions and move with you. So your breakout activity is supposed to be for 15 minutes. Basically, what you're doing in that breakout room is this. Let me share my screen. Review in session. So share this tab. Okay. Share this tab instead. So I'm going to share this on the chat box, right? This is my copy, but I'm going to share your own copy on the chat box. So this is a case study. Now, for your YDOS project, you have, assume that is for your YDOS project, that you have, you have to train maybe 500 people in the long way on data skills, so that they have improved employability. Basically to mean that so that they are better employable, so that if someone is recruiting, they'll find that person to be recruitable, if that's a word. So the key outcome one of the key outcomes is improved digital literacy. And the objective of that outcome is, the expected outcome is that 80% of them should demonstrate proficiency, right, in basic digital tools. And then the indicators, what will tell us that they have gotten that 80% is the pre and post training scores. So you can just assume that we have done a pre-test for them before the training. But you now, as an evaluator, you have come after the training and you are trying to assess whether you have met your objectives through an outcome evaluation. Through an outcome evaluation. See it right here on the topic, on the title of the document. So don't worry, I'll still respond to questions in your breakout rooms. So you choose data collection method. You now write here the data collection method that you are going to use. So is it a quiz? Is it a pre or post test? You're also going to tell us what you're going to use to analyze your data. So let me say, for example, Google Forms is what we'll use to collect data. When will data collection happen and how? It will happen before and after the training using Google Forms online. So it means they are going to fill it out electronically, not paper-based. Excuse me. So what is the method and tool for analysis? You're going to respond to this question when I share your own copy. So the tool, the method and tool for data analysis I could think of is, method is maybe, let me say, quantitative, in bracket, pie charts, pie, let me not use too much, histogram, etc. And then the tool is Excel spreadsheet or Microsoft Excel. Tool is Google spreadsheet or Excel. I really hope you're following. If we had like 3 days, we would have taken our time, but the good thing is that I'm very sure the YDOS team will be sharing the resources with you. So the summary of the findings, so you just assume an analysis. I don't expect that you conduct the analysis on Excel right now, but it's just to aid us to think about how the process and sequence of an evaluation. So next is summary of findings. So remember that the target, what will tell us that we are successful, is for 80% of them to get 70% or higher. So it means 80% should get A. Let me put in bracket A on post-training assessment, C, post-training assessment. So let me say our evaluation now indicated that is an assumption, indicated that, let me do this in underline, that only 20% got 80, got 70% or higher, which is A. So that means that indicating that the objective was unmet. So case study infographic, you can now just put maybe, let me just see, maybe any symbol. We are pressed for time. And then you can just recommend. I don't think I have the time to give you an infographic. So I can just guide you within your breakout room to do one. It's just, an infographic is just basically maybe a symbol, an image, a chart that shows how that, so instead of using words to show it, you can just use those different designs to show it. And you can easily do those with all this insert image, insert emoji, insert whatever. I can even use this emoji. See, sad emoji, and enlarge it to say that people did not do well, Let me just say size 28 only, then do a superscript at my normal font size. Only 60, 70, let me say only 20%, 20%. And then I now do another against. Anyways, you can do that. And then you don't not just put one sentence of recommendation to say that, oh, we observe that, so this is where, but no, I will not give you this expo. I'll do that within your breakout rooms. But again, let me just say it. So one thing that you should always do is you should attempt to have more than one data source. So if you have a survey, use an observation as another data collection data source to tell you that what is being said by the data is actually correct, because your survey can tell you that 80% failed, but when it comes to practicals, you can see that maybe 60% or 70% are actually doing well in practicals. So it's now a question of, was your data collection method effective? Was the survey designed effectively? Did the survey ask the right questions? So you can make mistakes, especially if you're not, actually everyone can make mistakes. So it's just to have more than one data source. So you can add with maybe an observation checklist in addition to your pre and post test to just have additional info. So you can say this recommendation, it was observed that there was little time for the sessions during the youth day of service or youth week of service activities, which could have led to this. And then you now say, oh, my recommendation to maybe program design is to allocate more time. My recommendation for young people is to bring their devices so that they follow up effectively. My recommendation is that, oh, you find an attentive, a quiet and serene place and use your laptop so that you can follow well visually, etc, etc. And then communication is, oh, is it through a report? Is it through an infographic? Is it through a whatever? And then, yeah. So let me share your own sample on the chat box, and then IT can kindly take us into the breakout rooms. Yeah. So let me see your own copy. I'll put it in the chat box. So don't worry if you cannot edit the copy I'm sharing with you. You can just draft, use it as a draft and use maybe a pen and paper, or open your own live document. We can't have breakout rooms. Why? Okay. So we can do it individually then. So let's do it individually. So that's the guide. Just attempt to at least, so let me present your own copy on my screen instead. Share this tab. So this is your copy. On your own copy, you have 3 outcomes. So you can just pick one outcome to work on. And your work starts on the 3rd page. You see where it says your work starts here. So just attempt to insert, wherever you see insert, just attempt to make an input. And we'll come back in, let me see, 10 minutes time. 10 minutes time to, wow, let me see. Let's attempt to have 5 minutes to work on anything at all and within the steps. And then we can now start presenting at 2:03, at 3 minutes past 2 WAT. Let me do this. I don't know what time it is in your respective countries. So let me just say that we have 5 minutes for you to make entries, but this is unrealistic. You have 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and take presentations from people that have made some inputs, and just tell us your thoughts around what you've done, and then we can ask questions and respond to them. And then I go to those sections that I intentionally skipped so that we can build upon what we are doing now. Would that be fine? It's on the chat box. The document is on the chat box. If you can see it, just kindly say yes on the chat, or just say one or yes, one or yes, one or yes. If you're unable to see it on the chat box, let me see no or two. Wow, I can't see anything. Let me see. How about now? Can you see it now? Yes, 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 yes. Amazing. So apologies that you have little time, but just try to work on whatever you can within the next 6 minutes, and then we'll take your thoughts around what you've done. You don't have to have done everything. It doesn't have to be that you've done everything, but you should have made some progress, and then just tell us what you think, and then we can offer thoughts. And when you have a question, unable to access documents, let me see. Restricted, only people, anyone with the link can access this. So kindly try to access it again. If you have been able to access it, let me see a yes, 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 yes. Just refresh the document. Let's go, guys. Just refresh, let me paste it again, because I've made it accessible to everyone. I see a lot of people on the document already, so I guess you're now able to access it, but let me just double check. Yes, everyone is able to see it. So your work starts from the third page. So you just take, we now have 5 minutes, so you can just work on what you can, and then you can tell us what you think about your progress. If you have questions, you can put them on the chat box. I'll be responding to them as you move on. All right, let's dive right into it. Yeah, so I see on the chat box, some say it's not editable. You don't have to edit it. You just need to note down things, your inputs. So you can even use your own pen and paper. You can open your own Google Doc. You can open your own Google document and just make an input. You can use your phone and paper, your pen and paper. So just be resourceful and use anything you can. I think we have 4 minutes. We actually have 4 minutes, I think 2 minutes, but I'll just give us more time because this is actually important. Yeah. So let's say you have 3 more minutes. It doesn't have to be that you do everything, but whatever you're able to do, just ensure that you can at least within your own thought process articulate the observation. Nice, interesting, Sasa. I like to hear how you thought observation is a good way to get your data and why. Hi, Frank. You don't need to be able to edit it. As long as you can view it, that's fine. As long as you can view it, just note where your methodology of data collection, analysis, what your recommendation is, what your finding is. It can be on a pen and paper. It can be on your own live document. It can even be on your PC's notepad. Resend the link. Yes, I've sent it on the chat box. No problem. And we have just 2 more minutes so that we can take reflections from maybe 5 persons and then I give feedback. All right. All right, we have just 1 minute, so let's start rounding up. We actually have just 10 minutes to go for the whole session, so let's try to wrap up. Let's take presentation from just 2 persons. I give feedback so everyone listens in, and then I build it upon the other slides. Great. But please try to follow up on the additional learning resources. For me, I believe that that's the only way. I believe that that's the only way that you can actually gain more skill and actually develop competence by continuing to upskill yourself, just as the YDOS team keeps on encouraging you. Keep upskilling, you make use of the resources shared. You have those, you take the courses. There's actually even a course recommended as part of the additional learning resource. So just try to take it. I think it's the first one. So just look out for it. It's a whole course on outcome harvesting. So it's actually quite short and elaborate still. So, all right, time is up. So I'm willing to take anyone to have them present and what their reflection is of what they have done within a minute. So who's going first? Please note that this is an opportunity. There are people who pay a lot of dollars to have someone consult for them to sense check what they have done, but you have it for free. So let me hear from you. Tell us what you've done, and we can offer recommendations as to what you can do, what we could have done differently, and what you did well, and in that regard. Caitlin, are you ready? This is interesting. Let me see, so that I don't also take time. So it seems this seminar started some days back. I missed a lot. Okay, I think this is a message for the YDOS team. Does anyone want to share their reflection of what they've done, or even their thoughts about what they read? It doesn't have to be what you've done. Oh, Caitlin, you made me happy. So please be kind to go ahead. Hi, Caitlin. Are you ready? You can just unmute your microphone. Can't mute. Oh, let me see. Caitlin, request Caitlin to mute, to unmute. Let me see. Where is Caitlin? Yeah, ask to talk. So I've requested you to, great.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. Actually, yeah, it and it has been confusing, but I think I was able to pick up a few things from the evaluation you already gave us, where you said from step 3 that we should choose data collection. So I was actually doing a case study on out of school boys aged 13 to 17. And for my data collection methods, I had already conducted a pre and post assessments during the training program. Like we had a training where we had to talk to people about um, boys around the area. So we had conducted a training and then we got we had to do some assessments during the training. And then for the tools we used, we actually had to do practical, we had to go out physical and then quiz. We had to talk to people and also the boys involved. Yeah, and then okay. And then we also used Google Forms to talk to understand how these boys out of school are being affected directly. That's one. So after the collection of this data, we had to analyze. So from the analysis we've gotten, we
What
understood that.
tool did you use for analysis, Caitlin?
So I didn't hear you.
What tool did you use for analysis? What software?
For analysis.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't put that part.
Okay, that's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay. But I had done for proficiency data, we had collected data immediately after our training completion. And then we had to work on our employment data because we needed to get hands on board to for 3 to 6 months post training, because they're the ones that will also train the boys after we get them shelter and other things. Then we had the data analysis.
Yeah. Great.
I didn't really
Thank
get a
you.
lot of it, but I'm trying to talk about it in the way I understood it and the way I worked
That's
out.
very fine. That's fine. So what I'll say, I think you have quite more to share, but we have little time. So I'll try to harmonize what you've shared so far and maybe give my feedback. Will that be fine?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, for making our class interactive. All right. So Caitlin did share a couple of things about the project, and I like that she was able to iterate them in the processes that come before each one. So data, the ideation, data collection, data analysis, reporting, and defining. Abdullahi wants to go next. Let me just confirm that I can have maybe an extra. How can I have extra time? YDOS team? Just let me know. And if I say yes, Abdullahi, I'll come back to you. Apologies. So, so all that is great, but I want to share something with you that is very, very important. And in the world of evaluation, is something we always like to remind ourselves about. Your interviews, your focus group discussions, your Google Forms, your analysis, your reports, that is not what makes an evaluation. An evaluation actually becomes effective when you put it in a methodical way as accepted by a global standard. And the global standard is that you have your, please note this down. If you have your pen and paper, then you can just write them down and then you do perhaps more research. Have your theory of change, have your logical framework where your indicators are. That's step one. Step two, decide which evaluation you are going to conduct. Is it an outcome evaluation? Is it an outcome harvesting? Besides these two, there are so many others, needs assessment, impact evaluation, etc. But this is not the place to confuse you. After you've decided what kind of evaluation you want to conduct and why, the next step is to design your evaluation, craft your evaluation questions. Now, please hope, I'm still hoping that you're writing this down. Your evaluation questions are not the same as the questions on your Google form or your checklist, observation checklist, or you asked during your interviews. No, your evaluation questions are the overarching, are the broader questions. They are the broader questions that when you break that one question into little bits of pieces, they will now fit into your Google Forms or your interviews and whatnot. So, for example, an evaluation could be that was there a change in the knowledge level of the intended beneficiaries after the intervention? And then when you break that down, it will now come into maybe your Google form as, what did you know before? What do you know now? How knowledgeable are you about this? I am very, very knowledgeable. Agree, strongly disagree, yes or no, all those kind of things. Or even in your interviews, would you perhaps tell us what you are now able to do? And then all those responses will now answer your evaluation question. That's step three. Step four is ensuring that everything is interconnected. Nothing is standalone. Everything connects to something. Your Google form questions connect to evaluation question. The evaluation question connects to your theory of change or logical framework, and the answer questions based on your activities, output, outcome, or impact that you're trying to track. The fourth stage is your reporting should be tied to your evaluation questions. And that is the last one that I would like to share. So this is just some tools and platforms you can use in evaluation. You can see that data collection tools are there. You see survey, questionnaire, interviews. They are not the evaluation themselves. They are not the outcome harvesting themselves. They are just tools you can use. Data analysis softwares include SPSS, InVivo, SPSS and Google and Excel are popularly known for data analysis of quantitative basis. Qualitative softwares or qualitative data analysis softwares, maybe Max QDA, InVivo, etc. M&E tools. Your logical framework is just an M&E tool. Your theory of change is just an M&E tool. It doesn't make you it doesn't say you've conducted an evaluation. Yes, so visualization tools, you can use Tableau, Power BI. Dissemination could be via blogs, articles, evaluation reports, nano reports, infographics. Remember our infographics. The knowledge management is also very important for you to mobilize knowledge anytime it's needed and share with any stakeholder, whether it's after your project, whether it's 10 years later when you're applying for a grant to show that you are good at what you do, etc. So yes, that's it. These are just for further reading. I'll take questions and answers now. All right. Thank you for your time. Let me see. The team did not say I have so much, any additional time. So Abdullah, sorry about that. Oh, yes. Thank you. So Abdullah, you can share maybe just 1 minute or two what your reflection is from the activity. Thank you, Abdullah, for participating. We share the same name. Maybe that's why. Access to the mic. Let me request that you unmute. Thank God I'm a host. Let me see participants, or if anyone else will be kind to assist Abdullah. asked to talk a lot. Yes, I've done that. Please go ahead, Abdul. Abdullah.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful opportunity. Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
You're very loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yes, I hope you can hear me, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right. Regarding to your assignment that you just gave us, I guess the project is based on the objectives, that is to equip 500 underprivileged youth in long life with basic digital tools to enhance employability for over 12 months. So based on the tracking project outcomes, I realized that the expected outcomes is 80% participants. Out of this 80%, they demonstrated proficiency using, that is example, MS software, MS Office and email using these tools. So I may say the tools that we use here is we use in conducting survey like email, MS Office in collecting our results. So the 50% output use these tools now to secure their employment within 6 months, while 70% out of this 80% are the targeted participant that undergoes this evaluation processes. So now the software tools that we can use in addition with the ones that we're having, I can say that we can use like ODK tools or Kobo data collection tools, question. These are the software tools in addition of that one. While the hardware, we can use like questionnaire and interview, which are the verbal or paper written interview. So the monitoring evaluation tools, that is writtenly, I can say if we can write it without using any software tools, we can write it as at the end of the project, theoretically 50% secure employment, 70% at the target outputs, yes, target participant, while which out of the 500 underprivileged youths. So that's what I can say for now. Thank you very much.
So, Abdullah, thank you so much. I will not give feedback on everything. I take this, but let me say something. I like your thought process, but there's something I want you to share. Please, you can unmute, Abdullah. You can open your mic. Why do you have different
Okay, sir.
data? Yeah, why are you using ODK? Why is
Yeah.
ODK important?
Yeah, it's just ODK is a tool that we can use in collection data using
I know
maybe.
ODK, but why are you
Yes.
using ODK?
Since it deals with statistical.
Okay, thank you,
Here you.
Abdullah. So on the additional resources, you can see that one of the tools, the last one says making use of contextually relevant M&E tools. Please, because you are proficient or you like a tool or it's fantastic, doesn't mean you should use it. You should only use it when you need to use it. And let me explain. If you use ODK when you've already used Google Form, you've already gotten your data, all you're doing is adding stress and taking up your M&E budget that is very small, I'm sure. A lot of evaluation budgets, our evaluators complain that their budget is too small. But you should not use a tool when you don't need to use it. I was looking forward to hearing you say, oh, I wanted to use ODK because in that location they have limited internet penetration or mobile access, and it will be troublesome for them to share their data online. So ODK aids you to actually collect data where there's no internet. You can just store it, and when you come to the city, you just upload it. And enumerators find it interesting. The same with ODK and Kobo Collect. Yes. So yes. Does that work for you, Abdullah?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I'm very grateful for your participation. It means a lot to me.
All right,
Caitlin, thank you as well. So everyone, thank you so much for your time. I think we can just take questions for 5 minutes if the YDOS team. Yes, you can use SPSS for correlation of scores. Yes, you can. And I advise you to use it actually. So any other questions? We have till 2 minutes for questions. YDOS team. Just volunteer additional 5 minutes for us. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Yeah, I enjoyed the participation. So yeah. I'll just take the questions on the chat box so that you can take time to make closing remarks, Victoria. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. You have some hands raised up. I think I see two hands here, Elijah
Oh,
and Abdullah. I'm not sure Abdullah wants to speak.
Elijah hasn't spoken. Oh, thank you so
Okay.
much. Great catch. Elijah, please go ahead. Nice. Hi, Elijah. Elijah, I can't hear you if you're speaking. Perhaps you're muted or your audio jack has an issue. Another alternative is using the chat box for your question. Mr. Smart.
Okay. Thank you very much for a powerful section. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Elijah. You're audible. Uh-oh. Elijah, I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible now. Yes.
Okay, no, this is Idemudia Richard. I want to ask a question concerning data security. Assuming after the pitching, I happen to run a project that was sponsored by two different organizations, and one is demanding for sole rights to use the data in a situation where the data is large and can aid future projects. How do you handle such situation, knowing that as long as you have shared that data, you no longer have security over such data? Are there tools that one can use to lock certain aspects of a data report? Thank you, sir.
You are blessed. And thank you so much. That's a valuable question. So I'll attempt to answer this within 2 minutes, but not make use of random words. So please permit me to be specific. As an evaluator or a project person or anyone working in international development, you are required to comply with data protection policies and regulations. Always read up your national data protection laws, the organization you work with, what are their privacy policy and data protection policies, and also your partners. At your project, at the point of signing MOUs or receiving funding or acknowledging or signing, always be clear and have your terms of reference that speak to data privacy and data protection. But beyond that, and responding to Elijah's question, one of the ways that you can ensure that you have the right to share with your funder is by stating it clearly. Because, for example, the NDP and in Nigeria, there's a data protection regulation that says that if, for example, you state it very clearly to your beneficiary or the constituent or the person you are serving that, okay, you are responding to this survey, it has your biodata. But as you know, we are also funded by so and so. It can be Deloitte, Mastercard Foundation, Dow, can be Lib Africa. Lib Africa has requested that we will share your data with them. However, they have so and so processes which are there to ensure that your privacy is not taken for granted or messed with. Also read more, and then you say read more about our privacy policy in detail. And your privacy policy states it clearly that they can choose to withdraw their consent at any time. And when they withdraw their consent, they communicate to you, you communicate to the funder, and ensure that their information is redacted and all. So it's really about policies, reading about policies that exist, complying to them, and then infusing that compliance process into your forms, your surveys, your consent forms. There's also consent forms for interviews and etc. So really, it's an iterative process, but the first step is being aware of the policies that are around you, policy of your funder, your organization, your country, and yes, that's it. I don't know if that answers the question. Let me just hear what you think. On the chat box, you can let me know if it does. Magaji asks, how can one collect data if the people deal with our kids? You know, there's assent and then there's consent. You request assent from guardians, caretakers, etc. Consent only from people above, from 18 above. Of course, this depends on countries, but I think this is a global best practice. So in most cases, you reach out to guardians to give let me even just say, let me not confuse you. You reach out to guardians to ask for the consent, but also the terminology termed assent, so you can look it up. Consent is a whole different ball game in its own, and it can make or mar your project. So yes, let me see. Those are the only questions that I can see. Thank you so much for the additional time, Team YDOS, and thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone that participated. We hope that you would do well to apply these in your day of service activities and reporting. You make use of evidence to support your report. You state what the outcomes are, not activities, not report activities, not report outputs. Actually report all those and still report outcome. Higher level achievements or effects of you conducting your intervention. And hopefully you're also able to use case studies, tell stories, infographics to communicate them. Thanks, guys. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you, Abdullah. Please, can we appreciate him in the chat? Can we share, send him virtual claps, emojis, thank you messages. Let's keep it coming, guys. Thank you so much, Abdullah, for this session. I feel like we had like 5 sessions in one, because this was really, really, it was really, really, you know, packed, as we had anticipated it to be. So thank you so much for all of the information you have shared so far. And I'm sure that our participants gained a lot from this session. I personally gained a lot because I was just, you know, writing down and jotting down some things that I know I'll come and meet you in the corner to come and explain more about. But thank you so much and well done on this session. Well done to everyone for still staying on till this time. We really appreciate your time and your active engagement. I see Caitlin's comment, very well noted. We would put that in consideration for the other sessions that we'll be having. So very quickly before we go, I'd like to share some information to everyone here, and please pass it across to as many people that you know that are not on this call right now. This is about our change project. So we had mentioned before in the first session that we're going to be having, we're going to be sharing how you would make the top 100 SDG young people that are going to be funded by Leap Africa. And the reason we are having 100 people is because, I mean, we want to fund as many people as possible, but our budget limits us to only 100. So we have funding available for just 100 people. And this is how you are going to be able to maximize the funding. So you are required to submit a PowerPoint presentation, a minimum of 5 slides and maximum of 10 slides. And it should include a need assessment, that is your problem statement. So recall that when you registered on the YDOS platform, you initiated the project, you said, oh, this is the project idea that I have, and this is what I want to do about it to contribute to the SDGs. So now we are giving you another opportunity to refine that project idea, but you are now doing a PowerPoint presentation for it. So you are doing a minimum of 5 slides or maximum of 10 slides. And what we want to see is the problem statement. What is the problem you are trying to solve? Who is your target audience? That is age, gender, and any other relevant details you have. What is the project description? Describe the project. Tell us about the project lead or the organization if you're an organization. Share your sustainability plan. By that we mean how you're going to, how the project is going to continue even beyond YDOS or beyond the funding you are going to get, and attach your budget to it. Also, we'll need you to do a video recording of yourself defending this project, not exceeding 2 minutes, please. It should be a short, straight, simple, and you know, very concise for us to be able to review. All this information we are going to share in an email, and we are going to drop it on the WhatsApp group. So don't worry about it. We will still share this information on the WhatsApp group and also by email so that you have complete understanding of what we are expecting you to do. But I just thought, or we thought rather, to share that information with you now so that you hear directly from us that this is what we are expecting of you. We are at 2:32 p.m. and I think this is a good place for us to wrap up. We've had questions taken, and we believe that you've had a lot, you know, to take out of this session, and we don't want to overload you with so much information. So if you still have more information surrounding the things you have learned today, please reach out to us by email, YDOS@leapafrica.org, and you'll get a response from us within 24 to 48 hours. Thank you again to our facilitator, Abdullah, for, very wonderful session. Okay, I see a question. The deadline for submission is August 30th. August 30th, please. Between now and August 30th, we want you to put this information together. So thank you very much. We will share more information on the WhatsApp group and also by email. Thank you so much, guys. And this is me saying goodbye, and see you tomorrow for the other sessions we're going to be having. Bye-bye.